The U.S. auto industry faces a major disruption. Over 7 million imported vehicles could be hit with a 25% tariff, potentially driving prices up by thousands of dollars. How are General Motors and Ford responding? And what will this mean for American consumers? In 2024, the U.S. imported 7.38 million vehicles, mostly from Canada and Mexico. A proposed 25% import tariff could increase the price of each car by approximately $3,000, according to Barclays. General Motors, whose foreign production accounts for more than one-third of its U.S. market supply, would be among the hardest hit. The company says it can absorb 30 to 50% of the increased costs in the short term and has announced a $59 to $60 billion investment to expand domestic production. Still, GM's stock fell 8% after a lukewarm response to the tariff announcement. Meanwhile, Ford CEO Jim Farley took a stronger stance, warning that the tariff would create chaos and disrupt the entire U.S. auto industry. For American consumers, this means higher car prices, fewer model choices, and increased risk of supply chain disruption. GM executives recently met with President Donald Trump and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to express concern over volatile trade policies. CEO Mary Barra reaffirmed GM's $60 billion commitment to U.S.-based production, but stressed the need for long-term clarity on tariffs and emission standards to support strategic planning. Ongoing tariffs on steel and aluminum currently impact over $150 billion in product value across the industry. Without clear federal guidance, manufacturers may delay investment, weakening their competitive edge. The potential consequences include job instability and higher car prices for American buyers. Mexico remains a crucial manufacturing hub for General Motors, thanks to low labor costs and high efficiency. In 2024 alone, GM produced over 700,000 vehicles in Mexico, including 99,529 electric vehicles, representing nearly 60% of the country's total EV output. The automaker operates 4 major plants in cities such as Ramos Arizpe, Silao, San Luis Potosí, and Toluca, manufacturing key models like the Silverado and Equinox. But if the 25% import tariff takes effect, GM may be forced to shift production back to the U.S., a move that would drive up costs and cause delays. As a result, American consumers may face limited model availability, higher prices, and slower delivery timelines at dealerships. As GM continues its pledge to phase out gasoline vehicles by 2035, it now faces a dual challenge: ramping up U.S. production while investing heavily in its electric vehicle transition. The company warns that unless tariff-related disruptions are addressed, it could lose market share both domestically and abroad. With shrinking profit margins, prolonged instability could erode efficiency and competitiveness. For American consumers, this means potentially higher car prices, fewer available models, and extended wait times for new deliveries. U.S. tariffs rattle Japanese car market, pushing prices higher and causing widespread supply shortages. Why can a single tax policy place such pressure on American consumers? The United States has recently imposed a 25% tariff on imported vehicles from Mexico, a country that accounts for 35% of Japan's vehicle exports to the U.S., equivalent to nearly 2 million units per year. Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Mazda. And Japan, the largest exporter of automobiles into the United States, is now directly impacted by this new policy. Popular models assembled in Mexico, such as the Civic, Sentra, and Tacoma, are now at risk of price increases, ranging from $2,000 USD to $5,000 USD per vehicle, according to Edmunds. American consumers may lose access to Japanese vehicles known for their fuel efficiency, reliability, and affordability, a development that particularly affects first-time car buyers and middle-income households. While the tariff policy is intended to support domestic manufacturing, it also disrupts the Japan-Mexico U.S. supply chain. shifting the financial burden to consumers. In response to the recent U.S. tariff measures, Japanese automakers are undertaking significant restructuring of their supply chains. A necessary shift, the one that is resulting in noticeable disruptions for everyday consumers. Honda is relocating production of the Civic from Mexico to the state of Indiana, investing $700 million in the process. Nissan has suspended orders for the Kicks and Sentra models assembled in Mexico, affecting up to 30,000 pending deliveries. Meanwhile, Mazda has accepted a loss of $100 million in the first quarter of 2025 to maintain vehicle prices and retain its customer base amid a volatile market. Manufacturers are also gradually moving production to the United States, Southeast Asia, and South America. However, this shift has led to the temporary disappearance of many vehicles priced under $25,000, a category especially important to first-time car buyers and individuals relying on affordable transportation for work. The average wait time for vehicle delivery has extended to between 3 and 6 months, creating challenges for users who depend on personal vehicles for daily needs and professional obligations. The reduced availability of new vehicles has led to a sharp increase in the used car market, reflecting the supply-demand imbalance triggered by the recent tariff shock and placing a clear financial strain on average consumers, many of whom now find it difficult to access both new and used vehicles. Prices for pre-owned Japanese cars have increased by 12 to 20%. For example, the price of a 2021 Civic has risen from $19,000 to $22,500, according to Kelley Blue Book, April 2025. Dealerships are shifting focus to used vehicles in an effort to maintain sales volume. At the same time, however, banks have tightened credit conditions. Auto loan approval rates have declined from 78% to just 62%, and rising interest rates mean higher down payment requirements and reduced loan limits. As a result, many consumers have found themselves turning to domestic models, lower-priced electric vehicles, or even rental options, even if these choices do not align with their original preferences. A shift in long-established car buying habits. Facing the risk of extended tariffs, Japanese car dealerships and businesses operating in the United States are collectively scaling back expenditures to stay afloat. More than 50% of Japanese dealerships have reduced staffing or temporarily closed showrooms, according to data from NADA, April 2025. After-sales services, including maintenance and repair, have also been affected due to shortages of parts and skilled labor, making it increasingly difficult for customers to obtain timely service, particularly for imported vehicles. According to Nikkei Asia, the Japanese government is currently considering trade negotiations with the United States and weighing potential countermeasures, as projected losses could exceed $1.5 billion per quarter if the tariffs remain in place. Consumer confidence is beginning to erode. A growing number of buyers are turning to domestic electric vehicles, Chinese models, or opting for car rental instead of ownership, seeking to avoid future risks related to rising prices and complex maintenance. China has made unexpected progress in semiconductor manufacturing, producing millions of advanced chips. Without relying on Western equipment, what is truly unfolding behind this strategic leap? In the face of tightened export controls on lithography equipment from the Netherlands and Taiwan, China has shifted its strategy, focusing on domestic semiconductor development. Between 2022 and 2024, China launched Phase 3 of its National Integrated Circuit Industry Investment Fund, with a total capital of 344 billion yuan, approximately USD 47.5 billion. The initiative aims to support chip makers and related equipment manufacturers, strengthening the foundation of China's domestic semiconductor industry. To build technical capacity, tens of thousands of engineers have been recruited, many from major firms such as Huawei and SMIC. Meanwhile, patent filings in the semiconductor sector have seen a notable increase, reflecting strong investment in innovation and research. Data from China's General Administration of Customs reveals that in 2023, the value of integrated circuit imports declined by 10.8%, with import volumes down 15.4% compared to the previous year. Chinese companies have made headway in lithography equipment development, with the domestic sector projected to account for over 18% of the global market share in 2024. In March 2025, Shenzhen-based SciCarrier announced the development of a customized deep ultraviolet (DUV) lithography technology, enabling the production of sub-7 nanometer chips without relying on extreme ultraviolet EUV systems. This innovation uses multi-layer patterning and AI-driven process optimization to enhance efficiency and reduce production costs. In Q1 2025, China manufactured approximately 2.3 million 7-nanometer chips, marking a major milestone in its push for a self-reliant semiconductor supply chain. Back in 2023, Huawei released the Mate 60 Pro, powered by the domestically produced Kirin 9000's chip, built using DUV technology. SMIC is currently testing 5-nanometer production processes and aims to reach 3-nanometer capabilities soon, leveraging quad patterning techniques and AI optimization to overcome current equipment constraints. ASML, the world's leading lithography equipment supplier, reported that sales in China accounted for 27% of its total system revenue in Q1 2025. Meanwhile, NVIDIA stated that newly imposed U.S. export restrictions on its H20 AI chips could result in an estimated $5.5 billion revenue loss, citing limited access to the Chinese market, one of the company's largest. According to a report by SEMI, China is projected to remain the world's top investor in semiconductor manufacturing equipment. Surpassing traditional industry leaders like Taiwan and South Korea, China is also expanding production of mature node chips, which are expected to account for roughly 28% of global supply by 2025. This surge in domestic output has sent ripple effects across the global tech sector, particularly impacting American firms like NVIDIA. In parallel, China has adjusted its trade policies, imposing tariffs on imported semiconductors from the United States, while exempting those manufactured in Taiwan and South Korea. This approach aims to mitigate disruptions in global supply chains and maintain cooperative trade relations with key partners. As the US and China continue their fierce trade rivalry, the question remains: who is truly paying the price? The forthcoming changes are expected to have a profound impact on American households. Amid escalating trade tensions, China has officially imposed a ban on domestic airlines purchasing aircraft from Boeing, including the 737 MAX and 747 models. This move directly affects major airlines such as Air China, China Eastern, and China Southern, who have been significant customers for Boeing. Boeing, currently grappling with both technical and financial challenges, reported a loss of $11.8 billion in 2024, and its stock has dropped by 12% since the start of 2025. Boeing is also one of the largest employers in the U.S., providing direct and indirect jobs for tens of thousands of workers in fields such as supply chains, maintenance, logistics, and services. Losing the Chinese market, which accounts for more than 15% of Boeing's international sales, may force the company to scale back production, leading to potential layoffs or reduced working hours. China represents about 15% of the global commercial aviation market and is projected to increase this share to 20% within the next 15 years. In addition to halting aircraft imports, China has also suspended the import of aviation parts from American companies. This will have a ripple effect on thousands of suppliers, such as GE and Spirit AeroSystems, impacting factories across various U.S. states, including Washington, South Carolina, Kansas, and Missouri. as Boeing faces a decline in revenue. Tax revenue from businesses in these states is expected to drop, which could lead to cuts in public spending, directly affecting social services, education, and healthcare that American citizens rely on. On April 11th, 2025, China officially imposed a 125% tariff on all goods imported from the U.S., including agricultural, industrial, and pharmaceutical products. This move has significant implications for U.S. businesses, particularly in the pharmaceutical sector. Companies such as Eli Lilly and GSK are facing higher costs for their cancer and diabetes treatments made in the U.S., with limited access to the Chinese market. This increase in costs may make it more difficult for U.S. companies to maintain affordable prices domestically, thus impacting American healthcare costs. Along with the tariffs, China has suspended exports of rare earth materials and magnets, critical components in the production of electric vehicles, chips, semiconductors, aviation, and defense. This disruption will likely drive up the cost of products such as electric cars, laptops, and smartphones. U.S. consumers will either face higher prices or longer wait times for these items. Agricultural exports such as soybeans, beef, and grains are also heavily taxed, leading to significant losses for American farmers. Many could see their income decline, lose their farms, or be forced to apply for government subsidies. Following the suspension of Boeing aircraft imports, China has deepened its partnership with Airbus. Airbus now operates an assembly plant for the A320 series in Tianjin and is expanding its production line, with plans to increase output to 75 aircraft per month. By 2026, China has already placed an order for 150 A320 neo aircraft and 10 A350SS from Airbus. China is also heavily investing in COMAC, Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China, a domestic aircraft manufacturer. COMAC has increased its production of the C919 aircraft from 50 to 75 per year, with a target of 200 units annually by 2029. In addition to strengthening its aviation industry, China is pushing for increased use of the Chinese yuan, CNY, and the euro in international trade, particularly in the aviation sector. As more nations shift to trading in either the euro or the yuan, demand for the US dollar decreases, weakening the dollar. This will lead to higher import costs for Americans purchasing goods like clothing, electronics, and cars, thereby driving up domestic prices. The U.S.-China trade dispute has entered one of its most volatile phases, marked by tit-for-tat tariffs, tighter controls on rare earth exports, and growing uncertainty in global supply chains. As economic strategies sharpen on both sides, questions arise over who holds the stronger position in this unfolding standoff. On April 9th, President Donald Trump announced a new 125% tariff on Chinese imports. According to a senior White House official, this figure adds to a previously imposed 20% tariff targeting products linked to the opioid fentanyl, bringing the total effective tariff rate to 145%. The decision followed China's move to impose an 84% tariff on American goods, another sign of intensifying friction between the world's two largest economies. In response, Beijing swiftly announced it would impose a 125% tariff on all U.S. origin goods entering China, effective April 12th. On April 4th, 2025, China formally lodged a complaint with the World Trade Organization, WTO, challenging the U.S. decision to impose an additional 34% tariff on Chinese products, bringing the total rate to approximately 54%. China argues that the U.S. measures violate WTO rules and is urging a rollback of the new tariffs. Under WTO procedures, Both parties are expected to enter a 60-day consultation period. Should these discussions fail, China may request the involvement of the WTO's dispute settlement body. Beijing has reiterated its intention to take firm and proportionate steps to safeguard its lawful rights and interests. Chinese authorities emphasize that no party truly benefits from a trade war and called on the U.S. to lift unilateral tariffs and pursue solutions through mutual respect rather than pressure. In a concurrent move, China announced new export controls on 7 critical rare earth elements: samarium, gadolinium, terbium, dysprosium, lutetium, scandium, and yttrium. These materials are essential in advanced manufacturing sectors, including electric vehicles, defense systems, and consumer electronics. China currently accounts for around 90% of global rare earth production and processing. In light of the new restrictions, several countries and multinational firms have begun seeking alternative sources and investing in non-Chinese rare earth supply chains. At present, the U.S. produces about 12% of the world's rare earth output, primarily from the Mountain Pass mine in California. However, due to limited domestic processing capacity, nearly 2/3 of this output is still sent to China for refinement. To reduce reliance on foreign processing, the U.S. government has launched several key investment initiatives. MP Materials is building a processing facility at Mountain Pass, aimed at supplying rare earth magnets to General Motors by year-end. Lynas Rare Earths received $258 million from the U.S. Department of Defense to construct a rare earth refinery in Texas, though the project has faced delays over wastewater management issues. VASI, a German company, secured nearly $100 million from the U.S. government to establish a rare earth magnet manufacturing site in South Carolina. Despite these efforts, several challenges persist. High costs. Building a rare earth facility in the U.S. can cost 3 times as much as in China. Environmental regulations. Stringent permitting and environmental rules have delayed multiple projects. Skilled labor shortage. A lack of domestic expertise in rare earth processing has driven demand for specialized training and international recruitment